Even though the entirety of the video you're about to see is almost 2 hours long, you are welcome to go almost anywhere in this video and watch for 5 minutes and experience revelation after revelation. I've never done what I'm about to do, which is take one of our absolutely everything pass calls and share it with you. This is one of many, many hundreds of calls that we've done on the Absolutely Everything Pass, and it's from our Wednesday night call that we do every single week. And if you want to join us on future ones, check out kylecease.com/everything and join us for literally $39. But I promise you, just being in the room and watching this call will shift so many things for you. Enjoy this call. Hi, guys. I'm so happy to see you. Man, I think something really special could show up tonight. Um, I want to share with you something as we go through this. One of the things that's really becoming clear to me is that all pain that you're feeling in any area is a sign that higher is available. And this is big because there's always higher available. I want you to just take that in because there are so many ways that we've decided that the world should move and the world should be. And I want you to take in if it's not moving the way you are wanting, if there's a way you're feeling, if there's a way that you're feeling triggered, if certain things are happening in your life that make you feel off, that's because life is pushing to get higher available to you. And that doesn't only mean go up higher, that also means receive higher. In other words, higher is here, right? And a lot of us egoically try to go higher, but who's the one that's going higher? Higher is already here. So sometimes there's a you that wants to do higher, but that doer could die and receive higher. I want you to take in the idea that higher is trying to happen right now. Can you receive higher versus trying to get other people higher, to try to shift other things higher? There's a doer that wants to do higher, and a lot of times higher will just be the now, will be this energy that goes, I'm trying to hold you, but you're trying to hold them. Or I'm trying to hold you, but you're trying to fix this. I'm trying to hold you, but you're trying to change this or figure this out. And I want you to know, no matter where you are in your life, I want you to take in this. I want you to feel this right now. You're right on schedule. The world is moving up no matter what you do. And you can do what you want to argue it. You can do what you want to go against it, and it'll just throw you off. And you'll just be like, why do I feel so off? And there's a level of off that we can't tolerate anymore. So that off is going, can you get present? And I'm going to burst it into tears, or I'm going to make you let go of this heavy thing, or I'm going to cause you to forgive, or I'm going to cause you to release. And I'm going to move you to a frequency. And the inevitable truth that you're going to start to see, one thing, is that it wants to move you to a frequency that is higher than circumstances. In other words, you might notice that a lot of your issues still are within the world of circumstances, and a you that has a story within the circumstances, and a you that does something about your circumstance, and a you that does, and a lot of times that you is a program that was developed when you were a child that you think is you. And why are things painful? Because that's not working as well anymore. And a you that you've never seen but truly are is getting closer and closer to birthing. Does this already, just taking in, does this already excite you? I just am curious because if you're watching this content and you've gotten this far, that means you're awake and you're in the work and you're doing a great job, and it might just show up in a way you weren't anticipating. A higher you is showing up in a way that you've never seen. And so life will throw everything at you right now to screw with your old people pleaser patterns, your old fixer patterns, your old figure it out patterns, your old take care of everyone else but not yourself patterns. So one person just wrote to hosts and panelists only, it says, so why am I panicking? Because the pattern that you thought you were is dying, but it's not what you are. The pattern that you thought you were is dying, and what is going on is good. And if you're feeling, like Carrie says right here, so much anxiety, get present, because the anxiety is a pattern in your body that is in hospice right now, and your heart in the now are the hospice care center for the pattern that you thought was you that is starting to fall off. And because you think it's you, it's still here. In other words, if you identify as a pattern more and more and more, it has to stay here. But every once in a while, you get a glimpse of even better and you get a glimpse of even truer. And then you kind of go back to that pattern that you thought was you, and it starts to get rickety and rocky because now you're at a frequency that you understand is you, but you're still moving within the safety, but it's not safety. It's actually intense pain of the familiar that you thought was you. So we're letting go of identity, first of all, the identity that you are just your name, that you are the child of those parents, that you are the stories and the accomplishments and the problems and the challenges, the procrastinator, the warrior, all these different things. That is not you. And life is mixing up everything you thought you were, but never were. Just were what you were at the highest you understood. So what's happening in the world right now? The light of truth is shining brighter, faster, and faster. So you have a collective of people who are doing one of two things. They're either seeing these things, feeling through them like you, the other group wouldn't be here, feeling through these, feeling what's here, freaking out, but being present for it. And when you freak out, don't just cater to the energy that's freaking out and go, I got to fix this. I got to, whatever, drink. I got to numb this, whatever. If you do that, then you're identified again as the pattern. So it might temporarily calm down, but it's still not you. So life will kick it up again tomorrow. Right. And so if you allow whatever is freaking out to be heard by the now, you will understand that the now is holding space to take you from all kinds of different things. The victim you, the achiever you, the accomplisher you, the scared you, right? This is really, really big. These patterns are doing what they can to collapse. But if you jump, imagine they're little characters that you've played, but every once in a while it starts to freak out. So you jump into that body, right? So in other words, let's say whatever it is, an identity you thought you were is being attacked, right? Right now, it's not you ever that's being attacked because no one can hurt or control or do anything to the true essence of what you are. But they can absolutely do it to the separate energy that you thought you were. What you thought you were is a small self. You are just the name and the person in that body and the story and all these other things that you're connected to that kept you safe. And they kept you safe and you've learned how to maneuver. And now life is going, okay, I want to get you more expanded and more into a world of miracles. So I'm going to take that thing off. Now, if it goes, I'm going to take that thing off and you start feeling anxiety, and then let's say you jump into it, right? So let's say, like earlier I was saying, someone attacks you and they attack this thing, and this thing doesn't attack back or doesn't explain yourself or doesn't fix. It starts getting rickety because you're not moving from that character. You're not the actor jumping back into that character. You're not Gene Wilder jumping back into Willy Wonka. You're Gene Wilder staying Gene Wilder. So the character was attacked. So what? Right? So it starts to get rickety and it starts to get weirder, and this starts to become anxiety. Now it'll be much longer anxiety if you jump back into what that person would do, because that worked at one point but doesn't now. So what we do is we instead watch it. We get present for it. And if you're just watching it, you start to see that you are connected to the all that is now magic that is here. And when we connect to the magic that's here, you become love. You become a space. You become caring, and you stop seeing the world as much as you start to see your patterns. In other words, you still see the world from a place of love, but you stop judging and fixing the external as much and moving into the now and being a space for the pattern, right? So you can either be the space for the world or you can be the space for the pattern. So more and more, I'm finding myself, for instance, just getting present and being quiet. And I start watching literal shaking, literal anxiety, literal patterns, but I have enough of the inner work to know that's not me. So I'm like both in pain and really excited in the now. And I just get present and God starts to work in me and God starts to show up and that is also the higher self. That's also all that is. And it just sits there and it looks at this pattern and it hears it. And you might go through a few hours, might go a whole day of watching a pattern get shaky and scared and freak out and everything like that. And then you just sit here and you get present for it and you start going, I see you. And it's like, I got to always do stuff because, mom said I got to always do stuff because if I don't, dad becomes unsafe. I got to do stuff. And you're just becoming the love that these patterns never had and were created because they never had them, right? These patterns never had unconditional love. That's what actually creates a pattern. All patterns are based on the lack of unconditional love. That's big to take in. All patterns are created on the lack of believing that they're fully loved, right? So if you had a parent that shut you down, if you started to say something, you create a pattern of shutting yourself down, right? I'll just pre-shut myself up, right? Now you have a pattern based on unconditional love because if I talk, I don't know that I'll survive. Right? I don't know that I'll survive if I'm my true self. So I'm going to allow this energy that is shutting down to finally be heard by this now me. And you start to become unconditional love. You start to literally become unconditional love. And if the pattern isn't catered to, if you don't jump into the character and do all the numbing tactics or the control tactics or the avoidant tactics or the anxious attachments, all these different things, and you just become present for it, it starts to shake. Imagine like when you see mud packed and it's like packed into a wall and it's kind of like on the side of a cliff and you start to see it can come off, right? This is coming off, but all these patterns will only break off via love. You can't egoically get a pattern off because the ego is the one that is also a pattern. So a figure outer pattern could be here to figure out and get it, but an ego won't get rid of itself. So what do you do instead? We receive the higher now. And it goes, oh, I've been trying to, through my ego, go to higher. And at one point that was better than before. But now it goes, okay, the one that went higher through the ego, can we just look at it now? And can we receive the love that's here and see it trying to go up to create a different circumstance, to manipulate the circumstance because it's freaking out? You will start to become a space of now and love more and more and more. And man, will things change because you start to realize that any energy that's trying to hold up the world is baggage on you. In other words, it wants to take you up directly. It goes, I got everyone else. I want you to take that in. The universe and God and the consciousness and the higher everything has got everyone else. And one of the things that slows down your ability to go up is you letting your ego get everyone else. You're trying to raise the consciousness, but instead let it raise you and let your own consciousness go up without your egoic effort, right? So instead of you getting the world up, you allow yourself to let the one that lifts up the world to fall off, right? The one that lifts up everyone, because there is a very subtle thing in spirituality that wants to change the world, but often comes from a shell of a pattern that wanted to change your parents or wanted to change your siblings because you were scared if you don't change them, you'll never be heard or seen or fed. So instead, you're going through the spiritual journey going, look at me shifting everything, but you don't understand the shadow could be. You're trying to do it from the 5-year-old you that was trying to control mom and dad so you could be seen. So there's a weird conundrum where it's good that you want to do that, but could you decide to have the courage to let it pick you up and the one that needs to pick up mom and dad or shift other people so you can be heard can collapse? That's what I'm going through a lot lately. It wants the world to see something, and then it goes, no, I can't hold up everything, and neither can you, because life wants to pick you up. And that beautiful thing that you've done for so many people of holding up and hearing and being a space for, and often attracting energy that doesn't do the reciprocal, is a sign that a pattern that has a hard time receiving love is doing all that work. And your growth, as we've said many times on AEP, is to receive that you're loved. Receive that you're loved so much that the one that needs to convince anyone else of that collapses. You will just become love for those people, but they got their own baggage that they can handle. And before, they didn't have to do that because you were holding it for them. And now we are going, why am I feeling all this anxiety and this pain and everything like that? And it's because life is trying to break off your figure outer, your addictive energy, your over the line people pleaser, your fear, all these different energies, right? And so we're letting that fall off, and we don't know what'll be on the other side. But it's never happened that something falls off and it's not replaced with something more miraculous. You will start to see the world bigger and bigger, and you will start to hear more and more frequently, especially if you don't even interrupt it, right? If you don't interrupt it, you will hear bigger and bigger direct conversation with source, and it will go, hey, thanks for breaking all of your patterns. Now I can get in there. You know, one of the things we identify ourselves as is a routine. This is my morning coffee. This is the way I drive to work. This is my job. This is the way. Now, a lot of these things can be awesome, but it can be really big when you change how you do everything. It can be very easy to just habitually go turn on the TV. It can be very big to just whatever, do these things that you do. And so life goes, I'm going to make you do things you've never done, you've never considered, even just ways of processing that are different. I'm going to take away your extroverting and make you an introvert now, or vice versa. I'm going to make the introverts open up and start talking about their feelings. I'm going to make people that have never felt seen start to feel seen. I'm going to make the people who only felt seen to let go of needing to be seen by the outside so they can see themselves, right? So it is causing you to ask yourself, what is the higher want, no matter what my entire past routines have been? And you can really get caught in I am a routine versus I am an infinite. I am the highest. I am magic. I am freedom. I am love. I am joy. And then you have to act in accordance with that. You can't just say I'm that and then go back to all the patterns, right? That's a very big thing to just say that, say a sentence in any type of spirituality and then live an exhausting, like you're here to live the life. You're not here to just say whatever spiritual or religious sentence you need to avoid hell or to just be in a place of, saying spiritual things or just changing your name or wearing more beads. It's not only that, that can be nice, but also you allowing yourself to live in accordance with what is talking to you now, what is talking to your soul right now and saying to you, this day can be miraculous in a totally new way. And I need you to do this. And the thing it might need you to do is it might be something you did before, and it might be something you've never done before. So you go, that's not like me. And it goes, no, that's not like the pattern. That's not like the pattern, but I'm taking you to a you where all of a sudden life is going to be so much more than just get the job, get just only those things, get the job, retire, and die. Those can be nice things, but a lot of times we're ignoring the true essence of what we are. And the farther you go in this, you're going to be asking yourself much cooler, much more exciting, much more magical, miraculous, and riveting questions. You will start saying to yourself, did that energy over there shift because I shifted over here? Is the whole reason, like you'll start asking yourself really cool, fun, conscious questions. Is my willingness to leap causing other people to forgive? Or is the entire energy of the world going up because I let go of that heavy thing? And is the world mirroring me? You'll start to ask, really, did I just move to a parallel universe? Am I moving to something higher? And also all kinds of questions like, as I get older, am I going to get freer? Is the baggage of my childhood more and more going to fall off? Then you start going, how good can this get? What's going on? And you start really embracing off days. Today I felt off, but I was also like, I know what's up. I know how it works. I've never had an off day that didn't eventually become more freedom, right? So I'm just like, all right, I know what's up. I know that. I know that an off day is patterns are shaking and freaking out and anxiety and whatever. And I'm just like, all right, welcome. I know what's up. And I don't know how I'm going to get over it because it's a new lesson today. So I'll tell you something really cool about this week. This is why AEP is so special for all of us, even me, because a week ago, I started asking a question. What would happen if you did not allow nearly as many vices and distractions when it's nighttime? What happens if you stopped watching TV and you just heard what's here? Right? I asked what happens if you just didn't have that whatever nighttime alcohol or that habitual whatever restaurant. You just put yourself in a position to just hear what's here. Well, it took about 2 or 3 days, and it was about Saturday morning that I started. That took me to frequency where I was like, what if I don't complain anymore? And I just was open to this idea. And then I made a call on Sunday about the power of not complaining, right? And it was just Sunday that I did that. And then Sunday night, I noticed I had a hard time not commenting on circumstances that I just would have habitually complained about, right? In other words, I try not to complain, but sometimes it's easy to just connect or bond on that felt weird or that person was over the line or what all kinds of different things just in the public or whatever. And I just decided to not. And Amber and I went to a restaurant and there was a waitress that at first, I'll just so I can explain it, had very intense energy. We couldn't have a deep conversation. The person was constantly coming in and checking on us, which was very sweet, but it was not feeling timing and it was not that aware. And I think it could be very easy to just sit there and be like, okay, Jesus, or like, what's going on? Or, have that energy. And we looked at each other and just felt the energy that wanted to complain and we're present for it. This was a miracle moment because it built up and I just felt more tension. And then a song, it's just the Spinners, whenever you want me, I'll be there. And the chords came through. And it was so beautiful because instead of talking about something that's in one frequency, I received the chords that goes, "Bow, bow," and I just heard it. And I just looked at Amber and I go, do you hear that? And I just started bawling. And it was going, higher is here too. And complaining loves to select things that it can be in resistance to. And it wants to argue with what's going on in the world. And it wants to say what's going on in the world isn't the truth. I'm here to decide that it shouldn't be. But if you stop complaining, the one that's in an argument with the world stops existing. So I felt myself choose a higher and find higher levels of love and cry it out. The next day I had a really off day and needed to recomplain for a minute again. So I'm not all the way there. It was almost like there was so much built up that I was like, I need a little bit of like, there were so many things that were triggering. So I'm not all the way there. I'm not a sage. I'm in this work with you, right? And I started going through the rest of the day again, not complaining. And then life goes, I'm going to give you so many things that you would want to complain about. And I just got present and I was just like, things would happen and people just be in your face and like, da da da, and not let you go. And I just sat there like, and then I went for a walk and all kinds of stuff happened. And then I just started feeling so magic and I started dancing and I started choosing higher while my body was built in that pain. And I started going, man, the end of complaining is really a real thing. And you start to realize, dude, it's not just drugs or alcohol that are addictions. And it's not just TV. And it's like complaining is an addiction, right? To just be in a constant war with what is an addiction, right? And there's a baggage that I started noticing. When you get an iPhone and you don't realize there's that screen on it, and it's just like you think that's your iPhone, and then like a bubble forms on the cellophane sticker, and you're all excited because it's about to be newer, and you're like, I thought this was the iPhone. But then you pull it off and all of a sudden there's this nice new phone that's cooler. That's what this is doing. And that's what's trying to happen to you. The energy that has anxiety in your body is trying to, is the universe trying to do this, it's trying to pull that off of you. And the one that people pleases, but can't people please anymore, it's trying to do that. And the one that's, over the line giving, but not receiving, it's taking that off. And the one that's addictive, but you're not doing the addiction. And then you start to realize a pattern has the addiction. It's crazy, right? So obviously discerning is big, obviously understanding what you choose is big, but to just be present for whatever is. And by the way, after that song made me cry, I started feeling so much compassion for the waitress versus feeling tension. And I realized, oh my God, I'm holding the energy of the world. And I learned new things. And I just started feeling compassion for the person that if I had my complaining thing going, I might have just felt like, geez, okay, I need my space. I need separation. Instead, I felt absolute love for her and started feeling this higher thing. And it started showing me, if you stop doing the lower thing, I will create light through the higher. And I started just going, man, always, always higher is trying to happen. And you start to realize that like the patterns will stop working if you stop activating them, right? So you ask yourself, what pattern do I have that I could stop doing? Right? What pattern do I have? Is there a pattern you can see right now? I want to ask you on this. What is a pattern that you have in your body right now that you think you have to do? That a lot of people go, I got to change this pattern, but then they keep doing it. And the only thing that keeps a pattern going is doing it, right? And let me tell you something else. The only reason you keep patterns going also is because you don't understand what would happen if you were free of it, right? If you were free of that pattern, if I could have the ghost of Christmas other side of your pattern show up and show you the synchronicities and miracles and joy and higher you and freer you and younger you and less baggage and more compassion. By the way, you will feel more love and compassion to the people that you were trying to pull up, but you're not in that stuck with them vibe. You're now in a place of releasing, right? So this is really big. This is really big to identify, what is the thing I do too much? Do I, whatever, not show my true self? Do I overshare? Do I gossip? Do I whatever? I'm telling you, when you start to just stop doing the pattern, it has no power. Literally, that's it. And if you also understood that if I stop doing the pattern, more miracles will get in my body, a higher me, a truer self, a more joyful me, a freer me, magic, weird new revelations, a constant new level of talking to God that I can't see from the pattern, then life gets better and better. But I can tell you right now, if things aren't working out right now, I need you to really get this in your blood. Higher is trying to happen. Because a lot of times we think we're at the end point and it's not working and we get really sad. But I want you to get with the idea that much higher is trying to happen, and it doesn't make sense to any logic you've ever understood. So what we do is we start to know, with all suffering you're in right now, much higher is trying to happen. And it's up to you to decide, I'm going to have the courage to go higher. If there's a you that is used to being in an old way, you got to have the courage to go higher. And I remember one time just feeling off, and Amber said, do you want to Kalego to me? And I Kalegoed. I remember getting to the other side. I was crying right away. I mean, I let patterns build up and then Kalego a higher that's trying to happen. And all of a sudden tears show up. This is a new way you can Kalego. Right? Because if you allow yourself to go, I remember when the pattern that I was feeling, you're talking about what's there right now. I remember when the pattern that I was feeling served a purpose and realized that it was loved. And I thanked it for protecting me all the way up until now. And I didn't try to get rid of it. And I realized how many memories I had, just immediate tears, right? And you start to release the patterns. And what are they replaced with? A truer you, less baggage, right? Real you, real power, right? And so this is really big because The old patterns are no longer working. The good news is we're in a collective where the old patterns are no longer working. The level of light that's on what's going on is so big, and it's up to you to work with, hey, the light's showing you major, major patterns in your body, and you can try to delay this again another week and watch as life gets really heavy, or you can participate with what it's showing you, right? You can participate with what it's trying to offer you. It's just offering you things in your body that are not the truth. They might have been the best you had back then when you thought your parents were your God, when you thought their patterns were your God, and that everything they believed about you was the truth to you. But you now are going to a truer, higher frequency. So that's why all of us are falling apart, because our false us is falling apart. And if you don't cover it up and you don't deny what's trying to happen and you let your heart be seen, by you at least, let your heart be seen, and you create space for these patterns to be heard, then you will be shocked at what starts to happen. You will start to not need those other things. And you will always be blindsided by the way that by the way that they release. You will be blindsided. It'll always be a surprise. It'll always be I never saw that. You can't, or remember this is a big quote to take in. You cannot orchestrate your own surrender. So all you can do is keep going up and letting it happen. And by up, I mean here. Up, I mean listening. Allow yourself to have a day with break apart energy. Allow yourself to have a day with lostness. Allow yourself, just be off, right? Allow yourself to just be off right now. Take a deep breath in, be present for it, and allow. Right? We are so here to allow. I am so happy to see you guys. I'm so happy to be with you guys tonight. And I want you to just feel love, not only for everyone else, but for your patterns. Can you thank the pattern of the little you that had to do something? So whatever, the you that stayed in something too long that didn't align, the you that protected your parents from divorcing when you were 5, the you that did what you could so you wouldn't get in trouble. And just sit there in the joy of the now with a major allowing of you. One thing David Hawkins says, it's very important to have the courage to feel through a lot of antsiness, a lot of pain, right? It's very big to allow yourself to be present and feel through what's here. Like if you allow yourself to have the courage to feel uncomfortable for a while. This is our big problem, is we think uncomfort is death. And to me, it's also birth, right? Right? Like that we're going to sit in the pain versus take a pill immediately. If you need to, you need to. So I'm not telling you what to do there. But if you allow yourself to just sit when you feel like overeating or drinking or gossiping or explaining yourself, or proving something or getting someone to see your side, that's old patterns I have. I need people to know whatever. And it's important to me people know the truth. Well, the deepest truth is I need to see it, right? And the deepest truth is I need to see it. And the second you don't need someone to see it, you finally create space for you to see what you want them to see. And then you see it, and then they see what you saw. So then it's gone. The issue leaves. And I think the world absolutely mirrors everything you're seeing inside, right? And so we are creating space now for a new earth that is already here. I want you to take that in. The new earth isn't coming. The new earth is already here. We're already a 5D world, right? But you might not have allowed that to be the truth, right? Instead of being soon we'll all be 5D. No, no, no. You're in 5D. You're in a world where this infinite universe is available for you to connect to, but you might still be fighting it and fighting to stay your small 3D self that has to whatever, do all these things. Just instead receive the insane infinite that's here right now. Could you allow yourself to receive the insane infinite energy that is here right now? This is big, right? There's an infinite. This thing goes on forever in the now. It does not need you to go into the future, right? We allow ourselves to just sit in this infinite, right? With our allowing and just connect to the infinite. It wants to hold you. Stop fighting to do that right. So you're by yourself. Oh, energy. I don't want to be seen by this now. You don't even care if you're seen by other people. It's you don't want to be seen by this energy. So allow yourself to receive the insane, magical, infinite energy that created the forests and the lakes and the oceans to hold you, right? And this is more and more of the higher, and you will start to realize that the you that's dying is the one that protected a small, separate self, right? A small little you. That's what's dying. Can you be with that? A you that's not the real you. And what if you're not understood? And what if you don't have the addiction at all? Like, what if you don't? Like, go to a higher consciousness. What if I don't have that habit? What if I don't have that have the courage to say that? Right? What if I don't have that issue? What if you don't have any issues, but you have an ego that thinks you got to overcome issues to not have them? That could be a pattern. A pattern could be the overcoming of issues, right? I hear it when I work with all the one-on-ones. They'll be like, I got to do something about that. Not all of them, but a lot of times I hear that. Well, I got to do something about it. And I say it too. What do I do about this? Could I just receive also with you the now? Could I receive that everything's fine? Could I receive that I have nothing to overcome? And in that space, be a space for any remaining energy that does the thing, right? And why does it do every habit? Because it doesn't know it's loved. That's the only reason. It only does everything it does because it doesn't know or understand that it's fully loved. And the only reason you feel panic is unconditional love is showing up in your body. And the patterns are going, well, if I'm fine no matter what, then the things that I protected from that I experienced before will happen again. So a lot of times we create these shells because we go, if I don't protect myself, I'll go through that thing again. But that also shields us from unconditional love. That shields us from our source. That shields us from very loving people. That shields us from space holders, right? That shields us from infinite magic. That shields us from high level ideas. So the shield can also was amazingly needed at the time, but now isn't, right? That it isn't needed anymore. So we're now in a space where, look, the things are freaking out because you're getting glimpses of the fact that you're infinite. That's why. And one of the things the ego cares about is circumstances, and the soul really doesn't. I think it was something like, uh, what's the this isn't going to work. The guy that wrote Surrender Experiment, Singer, he said, if everything you do is for the break apart, Michael Singer, thank you. If everything you do is for the break apart of your ego, then you're always growing. So imagine if even your situation falls apart, but your ego that held it together falls apart too. Imagine if everything is for the fall apart of your false self, then life is really worth living, even if you end up having to go through going broke for a while, or not knowing what to do, or feeling lost, or missing out on some circumstance, right? This is so big to take in that your false self is trying to collapse, and we're on this planet for that. So it can be easy to get caught in, oh, I'm left out of that group, right? Or I'm not seen by those people, or yeah, all those things, right? It can be very easy to do that. But if you allow yourself to go, I'm willing to experience that, to let part of my ego collapse. And if every day the true intention you are in is to know what you truly are, more than get your circumstances arranged so that you feel enough false sense of security or egoically bigger than others or whatever, and you go, everything is for the fall apart of my ego. So sometimes it can happen by letting go of something. Sometimes it can happen by moving into something higher. Sometimes it can happen by listening to the egoic energy that's ready to collapse. And sometimes you don't know yet what it is, but you start listening very deeply and going, let go of that, say yes to this, forgive this. And you start to really go, who is that higher that's telling me what to do? And is that me that's hearing what to do? Or is the higher actually me? And is the one that it's telling a false me that's going to cry in a second and be released because I'm moving to the higher energy? You feel that? This is big. You are here for that. Kathy G, it's so good to see you. It's been a while. We missed you. Welcome back. Hope you're doing wonderful. So much love to you. Deep breath in, everybody. Release it. Love to all of our regulars and all of our new people too. So good to see you. Layla, I hope you had a great birthday. Just thinking of all the AEP legends I want to say hi to just as they come up. I know there's so many of you, so forgive me if I didn't, but Jessica Christie, so good to see you. Layla, Katie Kiss, Kelly O'Rourke, Dot, all of you guys, thank you for supporting us and being with us. So you're so wonderful, right? And I appreciate you so much, and I appreciate you supporting what we do. Yes, you count, Kayla Ray, and so do you, Denise Barrett, and so do you, Erica Long, and Cindy Seuss, and Ari. I'm very grateful. And if I'm not saying your name, it's because I just, there's so many of you, and I'm just not thinking of it. So don't later go. Malcolm Nickel, of course, Melanie, Coast Side Industries, not sure yet if who you are, but also good to see you. Really thankful for all of you. So everyone take a deep breath in. Release it. We celebrate that we're all in this work together, that we're all doing what we're here to do. There's great quotes that we're all here to take each other home. And that's what we're doing, right? So much love. Jordan says, sad about missing the big one. Well, just so you know, you have a week to not miss it. So just throwing it out there. Just you can also not miss it. I don't know your story, but sending you love. We're just sending you love and celebration. We'd love to have you. So happy to see you. Christine Ann, I know that name. I know that you've been here a long time too. Joe Brook, really grateful for all of you. And if you're new to the Absolutely Everything Pass, welcome. You came at a great time. We are launching like a rocket, and we are working together to allow ourselves to receive the true consciousness and watch as true paradigms are changed. You know, I have a paradigm shift in me all the time happening. Sometimes I have a me that goes, oh my God, I want to show the audience this. And then it goes, could you release that? And then all of a sudden a higher paradigm shows up. And all of a sudden I talk from a different place. And the one that wants to be seen dies. And all of a sudden I can talk from a different frequency. It's a crazy experience doing this work. But man, is life fun. I'm telling you, life is fun if you participate with source. It's really hard if you just work on circumstances. If your main focus is just your circumstances and an ignoring to your source, man, there's going to be a lot of addictions, especially with your guys' awareness. Your awareness is way too high for you to not tap into that. So if you have anything in your life that's stopping you from tapping into that you, I want to offer you to look at it and ask yourself, what am I scared to let go of? You know, letting go is the new thing. I mean, it's been around. Hawkins wrote about it a long time ago, but we are in a frequency where control will not work. And this is a surrender time. So this is about letting go. This is about eventually the only relationships you're in are about freeing each other versus controlling each other. You know, that's what you want, a relationship and friendships that liberate you versus bind you, right? That we're here for loving, bringing love and forgiveness and freedom relationships to each other that go both ways, right? You can do that a lot, but are they doing that to you, or are you getting guilt trips for following your heart, right? You're here to offer love, and that's it. And you're here to receive love from the people that are here to give love, right? So I'm noticing that in my relationship. It's just, we're just here telling each other how wonderful they are, how free they are, bringing the other to a higher frequency and offering a total freedom to the other one that makes each one of us choose the other person versus you better not, right? It's a wonderful experience to be like, you're free, and all of a sudden they're the back, and all of a sudden that's what you want. I want to be with you because you're offering me intense unconditional love that frees me farther than I can myself. And that's what I want to recommend to everyone to seek in a relationship or a friendship or a working relationship. This sentence has always been a calling in my heart. Can you take me past me? And by me, I mean the ego, right? Can you help me move into oneness and heal myself and release the egoic self? That's what I need, and I can do that for you, right? That's what we're trying to do here at AEP. Take you past you. Help you see the miracle that you are, so you don't keep holding on to the guilt and the shame and the old dynamics that really are not useful in the new world that we're moving into. We really are here to free each other. I want you to hear that sentence. Can you take me past me? I'm going to take you past you. I'm going to bring absolute unconditional love and forgiveness to you. I'm going to make you feel like you're more amazing than you ever felt by yourself, right? I want you to just take that in. That's what the world is doing. I want you to free yourself. Can you take me past me? I'm going to take you past you. I'm going to bring unconditional love. I'm going to bring forgiveness, and I'm going to let go of the ones that want to bind me. Like that's big for your soul because you're stopping yourself from receiving if you surround yourself with all the people that want to control you or shame you or judge you. I want you to know that. And you're stopping them from ascending because they don't need to if they keep shaming you and you keep apologizing constantly for being what you truly are. So they need to have their own energy back so Source can work with them and Source wants to work with you. We're here to go past our true self. Take me past me. That's what I've always been dying for. And I definitely have it in friends and teammates and people and now in a relationship. And so and that's what we're here for you. I want you to know everything I said that feels good for you applies to you. In other words, you're worthy of an expansive, joyful friendship, career, relationship, life. You're worthy of that. And we're not here to settle for things that shut our heart off. We're not here for that. We're not on this planet for things that shut our hearts off. We're here to move past ourselves and we're here to receive past our ego, right? We're here to free others that are ready to be freed and receiving it instantly. And we're here to receive the ones that free us too. And the more you don't hold up the world, the more you make energy for a higher you, right? The more you don't need to pick up others, the more you make energy for a higher you that can receive a new dimension of people that want to take you up just as much as you want to take them. Now think if you have two givers hanging out that can equally receive, that's a different planet. If you have two over the line givers that hang out, but also start practicing their receiving so the other person feels seen too in their giving. Now you have two people just love, love, love. Those two are take themselves up out of the stratosphere, right? That's what you want. High levels of expansion and freedom and forgiveness so that you can move into your soul and find the truth of what you are. Because alone, our ego often feels it's not worthy and it's apologetic and it doesn't deserve any love. And it's up to you to move into a frequency that says, I do deserve love, and I'm going to make the actions that match that. That's what we're about here. And I hear what your stories are. People say, Kyle, what about this? This applies to you. Even if you've done something you believe is wrong, even if something happened to you, even if your story of your childhood is intensely horrible, this applies to you. You deserve expansive love that frees your soul. That's the only thing you're going to settle for, that, right? Do you free me? I love the video. There's two versions of it. I love the 5 minute and like 34 seconds one of Maya Angelou's Love Liberates. It doesn't bind. That's ego. Maya Angelou, that video is so insane to me. Amber and I watched it again yesterday. I just started crying watching it. Love Liberates. That story is so incredible in that story because her mom liberated her, and she tells in the story how it's a 5 minute video. She liberates her mom to pass away. And it's called Love Liberates. That's what a sage is. That's what she's here to do, is bring unconditional love and receive unconditional love. Love is here to liberate. So we're not here to control others and judge others and shame others. We're here to expand others. And we're here to feel freed, right? That's a reason to be on the planet. That's way better than staying at a job you hate, in a circumstance you hate, and just cutting your heart off and stopping your expansion. You're creating more of the same world in a smaller dimension that no longer serves your soul, right? So beautiful. So when you get a chance, check out, there it is, Love Liberates by Maya Angelou. Mary just posted it. It doesn't bind. You just watch it and watch her compassion, watch her knowing, watch the truth spoken through her. You'll just start crying. And you just go, man, that level of love is the truth. That level of love is the truth. And there are levels of love that really aren't the truth, that we really have adapted as the truth in our world. And That's why there's suffering. There's some circumstances, I don't believe in this, that people go, no matter what, you stay in it, no matter what. Well, okay, what's the line? What if they're abusing you? What did you stay in it? What if it's just not, what if you're growing spiritually? Right? Like there's just ways that people do it that is fine if they want to, but in my heart, it's like, dude, your soul and what worlds you can birth through your soul, in my eyes, are the thing, the most important thing, right? Deep breath in, release it. All right, let's go to your questions. I'm about to turn 94. Tina Marie says, hey, Kyle, it just seems like no matter what I do, that's because you're doing versus being, or don't do, meditate, sit in stillness for hours, love and accept all of me, allow myself to just be love, etc. I can't seem to ever open to abundance. It's just like the debt piles up and income doesn't come in, like opportunities seem to present themselves and then not land, or they just fall through. One of the things I want to offer you is you're trying to find abundance in circumstances versus you. And every time you want it in a circumstance, what you're saying is, I'm not abundance, right? So the unworthy is seeking the external worthy, but is still the unworthy who doesn't believe they deserve to receive that. So often it's like, that's the answer to my life. Meanwhile, what you are is so much cooler than that. Right? So when you're like, there's the way to have abundance. There's the answer to my life that's so much bigger than me. I'm just a little small story that's just seeking external abundance because abundance outside of me is my God and money outside of me is my God. And I am here to be the small self because I don't know what I truly am, even though all I am is abundance. And so I'm kind of not worthy of these opportunities. So they better not leave. Shoot, they left. I'm sad about that they left because those things seemed like the answer and they're based on external circumstances. Meanwhile, the one that's seeking external abundance is probably trying to fall off of you. And the universe is probably saying, hey, I'm going to let these external things fall off of you right now. And these things like your debt is going to pile up until you go within because you're still saying outside circumstantially is bigger than the truth of what you are. So we're going to look at the one that maybe is a pattern of having to do it yourself, or doesn't quite believe that you are abundance, or needed to stay small to keep a family dynamic going in your childhood, or has a deep-rooted belief system like money is the root of all evil, or you have to work really hard to get money, or that abundance is only through the form of money, as Bashar would say, right? So as Stacy said that right when I said that, right? And so we got to see ourselves as abundance. This is a really big deal. I know I've said this before, Tina Marie, but I really want you to take in. I think the thing that makes people successful truly is the ones that are truly successful in their soul. I'm not talking about they manipulated money or anything like that, is they understand something. There's only one me. I need you to take that in. When you make money bigger than you imply money's limited, but there's a ton of you. Right? And so the awareness that you are miraculous and the awareness that there's only one you is where you start to go, holy shit, I'm worth way more than money. This is a big deal to understand. And then move as if that's the truth. Because when you move as like, oh, I got a sign of a way money came in, I could see it. That's it. You are screaming, I'm not worth that much and money's worth more than me. And you have probably a deep-rooted pattern that many of us has been trained to have in that money is your God. We watched a clip the other day of a movie, They Live, which is weird that I'm wearing glasses because They Live is a movie that I don't know if you guys ever saw, but it came out, I think, in the late 80s. It's kind of a weird horror movie. And it's a cult classic totally. And it's a movie where a wrestler is the actor and he finds a pair of sunglasses and he puts on the sunglasses and everything changes. And it's a very weird movie, but the scene is a pretty profound scene where all of a sudden he's looking at an ad, like it shows like a woman in a bikini on a beach, and then he puts the glasses on and it says consume, right? And then like he sees like a magazine cover and it says obey. And then he sees a magazine stand and above it and it says things like no independent thought. And at one point, a guy walks up to him and asks him a question. The guy's holding cash and he puts the glasses on, and before it's glasses, it's just cash. He puts the glasses on and turns in a paper that says, "This is your God," right? This is your God, money. Because if you understood the power of what you were, you would never have a money issue. You'd also not have a spending issue, an addiction issue. You would realize if you tapped into the incredible power of what you truly are, which means the source connected you and allowed the patterns that you're not to collapse, you would start to be one of the most valuable people ever. And then you'd start to not spend it on a bunch of stuff because you'd start to probably not need as much stuff. You don't need the most expensive car to prove how cool you are. You don't need the extra things. You don't need the addictions. You don't need the biggest house. You would start to be intensely valuable. And there's only one you, right? There's only one you. I want you to take that in. And when you start to realize there's only one me, there's only 24 hours a day for that one you. And that's it. That's what's limited. Money is not limited, but you move like money's limited. So there's a pattern inside of you, Tina Marie, that says money's limited. And you can hear it in the frequency of the conversation here. No matter what I do or don't do, sit in stillness for hours, love and accept all of me, allow myself to just be love. I can't seem to ever open to abundance because it's something to open to that's outside of you, right? So there's a pattern that wants to open to abundance that could die because you are abundance, right? That pattern needs to die, right? The pattern that wants to open to abundance could fall now because Tina Marie, you are abundance. Like it's kind of like I was saying at the beginning of the call. Like you don't chase your highest is here, right? So this is a matter of receiving and not efforting. And I want to reiterate that first sentence. I hear that you meditate. I hear that you sit in stillness for hours and love and accept all of you. But this is how you're doing it. Okay, I meditated. I'm sitting in stillness. Now is it here? Okay, I'm allowing. Now did it happen? So there's still a checking in on the thing that's still bigger than what you are, right? And I would look at the pattern and have the courage to look at the pattern and be for a second and look at the pattern that's asking that. Be there for the pattern. It's doing everything it can to ask these questions, right? Who is asking for abundance when you are abundance? There was a frequency when we said, I want abundance in my life. That was an up frequency from before. But now we're just removing the crap that's in the way of the infinite that you already are without any effort. Effort is in the way. Even slight effort now is almost in the way. It's just choices now. Do I choose the pattern that's moving based on more effort, or do I choose the now, not know what to do, and let the pattern that's based on effort collapse? Did you get that, Tina Marie? It's just a choice every moment. Will I be willing to sit through the intense pain for a minute of I don't know what to do and look at all the fears that come up from my childhood or from my past, even not childhood, when I don't know what to do? So Tina says, I feel like I'm unraveling from all my parents' lack. Right. So you're also, tell me if this is true, Tina Marie, are you ready? You're trying to not be your parents. Would you say there's truth in that? I don't want to be my parents. Okay, this is really interesting because whatever you don't want to be, you will be. Whatever you don't want to be, you will be, but in the opposite way. So I've seen this so much. If you have a parent that is careless with money and they overspend it, right? You'll go, I don't want to be like that parent. So I'm going to save it all and hoard it. But then you start going the other way and you stop looking for opportunities because you're constantly hoarding everything. And you'll be in the exact same broke boat as the parent just by doing the opposite way. My dad didn't say his feelings. And so when he did, it felt like a lashing out. So I thought, I'm not going to be my dad, so I'm going to speak every feeling in the world. Well, my dad's repression was not talking about it. I've learned recently my repression is talking about it. In other words, me not saying what I'm feeling is a direct connection to source. It's not the same thing as my dad. My dad was repressing. Right? So in me not wanting to be my dad by being the opposite, I'm still doing the same thing. I'm still creating repression. So my growth has been to not talk because I'm connected to source enough, like actually consciously, to see the exact things in my body that need to be seen. I'm connected enough to see what the lies are. But very often I'll find someone else and talk to them about it and do this thing where I'm staying the Kyle that bonds with mom and talks to mom through everything, but life's trying to purge him. Because the amount of times that I have to check in with people about things that I already know the answer to, I'll look at someone and be like, do I want a salad? Like that energy could die, don't you think? That like needs to check in with everyone else. I know I want a salad. I'm just needing them to nod. I do want a salad. Okay, thanks, hon. Like this energy can go. I'm sure it would be more attractive to her if I just confidently ordered my own salad. But instead, I'm trying to not be my dad still in parts of me. So I still repress the energy, but in the exact opposite way and end up with the same result, right? So that is big, right? And so teammates know this. I'll have ideas for a night thing, and then I'll need every teammate to agree with me, and then I need them to call their relatives and get everyone in on Kyle has an idea for a video. And then the relatives have to call their friends and they got to call the president. And instead, what we're at is I know what I want to do, right? So I'm not the same as my dad if I don't talk through everything. Do you get what I'm saying? So, Tina Marie, here's what I want you to say. Are you ready? This is big. Tina Marie, I want you to say this out loud. I'm allowed to be like my parents. Trust me, you won't suddenly become them. This is you stopping your war with them, right? If you, Tina Marie, because you will be more like whatever you don't want to be, right? So, Tina Marie, if you say out loud, I'm allowed to be like my parents, every one of you, because if you stop resisting being something, then source can work directly with you. But Tina Marie, you have a deep-rooted pattern that doesn't want to be your parents. So right now, what you're doing is doing everything you can to think, what are my parents like? How do they spend? Now you're holding that energy. And you have a big fear probably in your body that that can't die. So I don't want to be like them, right? This is a profound revelation here if you're open to it. Because the one who doesn't want to be her parents is meditating. The one who doesn't want to be her parents is accepting. The one who doesn't want to be her parents. But if you're accepting not only all of you, but accept all, accept your debt currently. You can't change your debt if you don't accept it. You'll just be in a fight or flight war with it. It's not until we hear that the house is on fire that we can collect water and put it out, right? So accepting what is where you go to a frequency that can change it. This is a big thing. So we got to accept, I don't know what to do with money right now because your pattern doesn't know what to do. And it might have worked years ago, but it doesn't work now. The consciousness is too high. So if we now go, I accept that I don't know what my circumstance is. Yes, or Lodi says, I'm allowed to see unconditional love as dangerous. Yeah, right, right. That will undo the pattern that says it's dangerous. Does that make sense? Because you'll start to feel a new level of compassion for the pattern that's scared, right? I'm allowed to not know right now. I'm allowed to accept my parents. I'm allowed to feel love for my parents. They did the best they could. We don't want to live our life not being like others. We don't want to live our life not being something. We don't even want to live our life not being our past because your resistance to your past is going to make more of your past. Are you with me? So this is big, everybody. Tina Marie's question is great for all of us because all of us are feeling still judgment for different people in our life, siblings, parents, whatever. I don't want to be like that person. I don't want to be like I used to be. And even though we don't want to be what we used to be, if we feel love and compassion for what we used to be, it'll be released. And what we currently are supposed to be will birth because we're not carrying the resistance to what we used to be. That's learning unconditional love. That you, that's not trying to not be your parents, but is on the other side of that, that you've never seen ever in your whole life, Tina Marie, that you is awesome. And that you is capable of things that you do not understand. So how could money flow if you're still carrying your judgment for your parents who couldn't make money? Right? Are you with me? If we could bring love to that, and bring compassion to that, you will be in a new frequency, in a new paradigm. And that loving you is able to give and receive so much more, and will have more come to you. But if you don't do that, you're going to be in your head a lot, and the childhood you is going to be running the show. And the one that doesn't want to be your parents, first of all, you're not your parents. You're a different person. You're God's kid. So you're here to be God's kid, not anti my parents' kid, which means I'm still my parents' kid. That one can't make money, right? But you will start to move into the abundance you are. Instead of asking as the one that is fully carrying the energy of your parents' old consciousness, and that one is asking for more abundance. No, the universe is like, no, we're not giving it to you because we have to throw her out too. Right? Did you see that? The universe is like, if I gave it to you, you'd never change. The universe is like, if I gave you the abundance now, you'd never shift this pattern. Is everyone getting that? Is everyone getting that? If I give you the thing you want now, you'd never change. So life goes, I'm not going to give it to you so we can get rid of the deep-rooted gunk that isn't you, so we can move into the major abundance and receiving that you truly are. So the pattern was in the way. That's what's going on, Tina Marie. Does that help you, my dear? Deep breath in, release it. Awesome. How do you guys like that so far? Tell me before I go to the next question that you got something out of that. Tell me there's something you saw in that. That felt awesome. That felt magic. Did you get something from that? Like, do you get that it's pulling patterns out of your body right now? And that's why our job is to stop moving from that I gotta change it and receive the all that is, right? This is big. It's killing patterns. It could kill your people pleaser, it could kill your don't be a parent, it could kill all these other things. So it can't give you the thing you want if those things are in the way, right? So it has to do everything it can to not give you what you want, to do that. Or it'll give you a situation where to go after what you want will kill all your patterns. Like you could be like, I want that, but I can see the patterns that don't feel I'm worthy of that would have to die. So I'll say yes and then watch them all fall out for a long time, right? So there's so many ways that it can happen. But no matter what, life is trying to purge everything in you that isn't the truth so you can actually experience the real truth of what you are. What a gift, right? Deep breath in, release it. Maisie asks, that's right, Tina Marie, you are, that wasn't what Maisie asked, but yes, Tina Marie, you are the true value hardware store. Maisie asks, I am wondering how to deal with an ego that is so, well, don't deal with it, hear it. Okay. This is a big thing I want to bring to the, Maisie said you can really skip my question. Oh, Maisie, what if I did? What if I did? Could you imagine? You asked that, and here we are. And that pattern, right? Oh, Maisie said, I see. Maisie says you kind of answered it. But maybe, Maisie, it's your turn to receive. And maybe you saying you can skip it still has something in it, even for me now. Maisie asked the question here and then said you can skip it. But Maisie, I noticed that you said you can skip it. So I want to be present for the one that says never mind. I understand you're saying it's showing up in my heart that even though you got an answer from the last thing, that there's a you that's scared to receive a little bit. Is there any truth in that? Right? Is there any truth in that? Is there any truth that, like you said, never mind because I went to you? Maisie, I'm so proud of your courage. It showed up in my body that you said, never mind, we don't have to go to this because you're about to be seen. And maybe a reason that the pattern is angry is because it's not seen. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? In other words, there's already a thing in your pattern that says it's so incredibly angry. And here you have this opportunity to receive an answer for you. Even if you got the answer you needed before, I got to you. And right when I got to you, I feel the pattern was like, oh shit, I'm seen. Go to someone else. Right? So wouldn't that make the pattern angrier? wouldn't the angry energy in the body that feels unseen get angrier because right when the focus went to you, you're like, never mind, right? Don't look at me, never mind. I don't want to be seen. So then you're not seen, but it's not because other people are not seeing you. It's because you aren't letting people see you, right? And you aren't letting yourself see you. So any pattern that's scared to be seen by anyone else hasn't been seen by you, just so you know. Take that in. Any energy in your body that's scared to be seen by anyone else hasn't been seen by you, because once you see a pattern, it leaves. And once it leaves, you're not scared. So when we are scared of something on the outside, it's a sign that we haven't seen what's on the inside. So Maisie, we got to you, and then you were like, never mind. And that's the reason the pattern is angry, because it's your turn in your life to receive, Maisie. It's time for you to decide to receive things that will see you. It's time for you to bring people, partners, friends, coworkers, a career that sees you. So you stop living in the pattern that stops yourself from being seen and holds up the others that don't see you. Am I nailing that? Maisie says I'm crying, and I see you. And if I was next to you, I'd give you a hug right now if you wanted it, and hold space for what needs to be cried out, because that's there. And I want you to know you deserve, and Stacy says making her tear up too. This is for all of us. This is a big one for all of us. It's time for you to receive energy that sees you. It's time for you to stop being angry, not because other people don't see you, but because you choose people that don't see you and avoid the ones that do. It's because it's so scary to be seen, because it's death to the pattern that fought to be unseen. But there's a deep-rooted calling to be seen. That's why you asked the question, Maisie. And the question was good, so people felt seen with your question, and they voted it to the top. So we now receive that you deserve to be seen, you deserve to be held, you deserve to be heard, and you deserve to let go of any energies that don't see you, right? You deserve to receive. So let's go through the rest of the question, but that now might be, that answered it, but still let's do it. How do I deal with a pattern and an ego that is so incredibly angry? It's like she's been throwing a tantrum for her whole life, and I'm hitting intense regret about having missed my life because my inner child has been so pissed off at a high level. Where is the line between pissed off inner child and ego that is basically like a bull in a china shop while also masking as a nice person? Wow, there it is, right? Let's go through that once more. How do I deal with an ego that's so incredibly angry? It's like she's been throwing a tantrum her whole life, and I am hitting intense regret about having missed my life because my inner child has been so pissed off at a high level, right? Where's the line between pissed off inner child and ego that is basically like a bull in a china shop while also masking as a nice person? Well, is there a fear of not being a nice person? I'm not saying let's go out and be mean to everybody, but if you try to resist being something, the way Tina Marie wanted to not be her parents, then you're repressing the energy that's angry. If you go, I can't be mean, I'm not saying be mean, but your niceness isn't out of sincere kindness and wholeness. It's out of, I can't be mean. So could we have love for mean? And maybe Maisie, you in a safe place, you could say this out loud, because remember, saying this doesn't move you to being it. Saying this frees it. You can say out loud, I'm allowed to be mean. Now, don't hear that egoically, everybody. That doesn't mean go be mean to everybody. People hear that and think I'm coaching people into becoming jerks. It's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing here is I'm saying, Maisie, we're going to not be something out of a resistance to being the opposite. Does that make sense? Because it's the people that are like, I can't be mean, everything's nice, that have the craziest blowouts ever. The Ned Flanders of the planets. Everything's perfect. Why? Everything's fine. I got to be so nice. Yeah, no, but inside, it's not okay, right? But if you allow the herd of it's not okay, then it can slowly release. We want little pinpricks in the mountain so the volcano gently is just always rolling out. Because you might have lava in your body, But if you want to put a big lid on it with a big fake smile, it'll come out like Mount St. Helens. But if we hear the lava, it can gently release. It can gently come out. So Maisie, you are allowed to be angry. You are allowed to be mean. Now, don't aim for being mean, but you'll probably be less mean than the all or nothing, Stepford wife or Hitler, right? We don't want the one or the other, where you then are full of resentment and feeling unseen because you didn't see it, right? And so we're done with that. We're done with it. It's time for you to see you. And another thing I can tell you is that this is also a symptom of something many of us have, which is what other people think about me is bigger than what I feel. I would love to offer the beginning of the end of that shit, right? What other people think about me is more important than what I feel. Wouldn't your inner pattern be furious too? If everywhere I went with Vivi, I didn't hear how she felt, but wanted to make sure everyone liked Vivi, she would get mad, right? She would get upset. She would get angry. And your healing will be, I hear you to me, right? That's going to be your healing. This is very, very, very important. That's your healing, Maisie. Are you with me? Are you feeling it? So you have to have the courage to hear what's in there, even if you have to put a pin on pleasing someone else for a second. Did you hear that? You have to finally stop making sure everyone is okay and hear what's in there. Then you can move to a frequency that from an overflow can bring a lot of amazing things to others, but it's out of a calling versus have to. We got to stop deciding what everyone else feels is first over what we feel, what's in here, because you're sitting here with a volcano energy, making it bigger and bigger and bigger because you're ignoring the volcano energy. But we can take the lid off. It's like a lean cuisine. You cut the slit and it steams. Wonder how many analogies. Like it's like the hole in the coffee that the steam goes up. It's like a gas tank that I poke holes in it so it just drips all over the floor. It's like a gentle long-term toot versus one loud blowout at midnight. It's it's like if you pour water on 4 feathers instead of dumping water on 6. Like the last one was the best one. You want to pour gentle water on 4 feathers and not dump it on 6. There we go. So Maisie, you're going to write that down. You can frame it in a frame and put it on the wall and dump gentle water on 4 feathers versus dump a lot of water on 6. Kyle Cease. Deep breath in, release it. You know what? I'm not going to be here Sunday or Wednesday because we got the big one and Father's Day. So I'm going to answer another one and do a little bonusy night, a little extra bonus night. You got it in you for a couple more? I mean, all kinds of awesome is coming from it. This is a good night. Can you believe what's coming through? I'm learning so much about me. All right. It's Maria. Take a letter, Maria. Da, 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 da. Could you help identify where the line might be between what you sometimes say about still pay the bills and not doing? Yeah. I have not earned money in quite a while. Let's talk for a second. Let's talk about this. One thing I would love to offer you guys is take a look at how many people are going through this money thing right now. I just want you to know this is happening everywhere. Like, let's just talk about it, not just at Maria's unique situation here. Because one thing that could help us a lot is a knowing that there has been a massive amount of changes through control, through government, through consciousness, through awakening, through so many different things, through transferring of wealth, through, all kinds of different things, through making money not worth as much. So getting a job isn't as exciting to people. So, I mean, there is so much happening right now. And the reason I want to point that out is I would love for you right now to be present for no matter what your problem is, financial or not. We're all in this. And I think one of the biggest strains we have is that what's happening right now is the isolation of the you that thinks you're alone in this. And one of the weirdest things that's happened on our planet is this bizarre thing that we're in that's just a phase that will pass, which is present yourself as perfect while deep inside not feeling perfect. The shadow to this is you're looking at Instagram, you're hearing everyone talk, and a lot of people are presenting how great their life is, especially many coaches, especially many money coaches, especially many, all these different things. And I work with a lot of the people, and I hear the people like, I'm going to teach you the 10 steps to making money and everything. And you talk to them alone, and they're like, I am really struggling right. I mean, this is every person is going through a thing right now. And I think one of the things that really is the crux of our pain is the not understanding right now that it's a collective thing that's happening right now. And what it's bringing up is the belief that I'm alone in this. And some people are still doing great with money, and that's great. I'm not saying it's fully everyone, but there are intense insecurities showing up collectively everywhere. I mean, out of 3 questions, 2 are in a very similar world of my money issue, right? And so I want to just bring to light a sense of relaxing that can undo. I just want to pop the tire that goes, that says, I'm alone in this. I want you to just picture, like, imagine when you have water laid out and then the sun shines, so the water moves from being a thick, world of water that it starts to just be drops, but all the drops are starting to shrink, all of them. But imagine if the drops thought every other drop was connected to the water and they're alone. So one of the things that's happening with the money issue is not only about money. In fact, it's almost 90% not about money. It's about the belief that you're isolated. It's about the belief that you're alone in this. And the trick that you're alone in this, when if you could look at it from an overhead projector, you would see a major percentage of the country and the world is all thinking they're alone in a giant money issue. It's just the time we're in. It's just the way that they've been moving. It's just the way that consciousness has been moving. It's the release of money as your God. It's the release of my image is perfect. I remember this great quote that says, the reason you stress is because you're comparing their highlight reel to your behind the scenes. I want you to really hear that. People compare everyone else is this is the thing that a lot of people say to me, a lot of clients say to me, everyone else has their stuff together. And I'm like, the everyone else you're referring to, I'm working with tomorrow. Like they're gonna be on a call tomorrow. And then if you're like, oh, Kyle's got the answer, just so you know, I'll get off a one-on-one and then I'll feel off and I'll turn to Amber and I'll start crying. And then I'll text the team and cry about an issue that I have. That like we're all in this and no one is not in this. I don't care how sage they look, we're all in this. We're all in the release of every pattern that's not us. And the biggest trick is the illusion that we're not in this alone or that we're not in this together. But it's all the same. I mean, it is everyone. It is always happening, right? And so I have watched a massive amount. I mean, I'm telling you, like almost every person going through a money issue or a circumstance or a divorce or a not being seen by their family anymore or a health thing or whatever the universe has to get you to do to surrender. It's the collective frequency that goes, your individual self is dying. And when it dies, the individual small separate self, not you, when it dies, you will discover that everything's perfect and everything's fine, right? And this is so freaking important, Maria, that you really hear what it's trying to do is get you to a place of killing the I'm alone in this. I'm still going to hear your whole question, but I want to bring to light that none of us are alone in this, and everything is being taken care of in ways that you cannot see. I was watching a video from a woman I think who's phenomenal named The Alchemist. This woman, her videos are called The Alchemist. And she said, it's an unfolding. And she said, you cannot see what's trying to happen. That's why it's unfolding, right? And so an unfolding is you moving with, I don't see what it's going to look like. I want you to hear it. That's a world that most of us haven't seen before. When people say, can you move to a frequency where you move based on frequency, but you have no evidence in particular of what it's going to look like, but you can feel the new world that you're birthing. You can feel the paradigm shift that's happening. Can you be with, I am so used to seeing what it looks like, and the world is taking me to a level of trust that cannot see what it looks like, but I can sense in my body is the truth. That's what's trying to happen. And so people don't necessarily have money issues. They have, I can't see the future issues. And so they can't see how they'll pay their bills in 2 months. They can't see what is trying to birth. They can't see that maybe those bills they're supposed to pay in 2 months, they won't even want anymore. They can't see anything about what's trying to happen. And this is so big that we are taking in the real word faith. We have lived our life with mental evidence of where we're headed. And real faith is I know it's right, but I have no mental evidence in my mind of what's coming. I want you to just think of that. That you move from a knowing that's intuitive. You move from a knowing through feeling, and you surrender the what's it look like. You surrender the right. But if I look at the rest of Maria's question, it says, could you help identify where the line between what you sometimes say about still pay the bills and not doing? Well, that line, just so you know, has to do with when people go to none of this is real. I've seen people live their life in a way that suddenly, like, to give an example, so I don't need to be a parent anymore. I can just leave. Or I'm not even talking to a real person, so I don't have to care about them. I don't have to pay any bills. It's not real anyway, and they use this spiritual sentence to become like, you're not real, so I don't care what you say. That is the worst thing. That's a spiritual bypassing. That's kind of what I meant by still pay the bills. Is like, none of this doesn't mean we're not going to take care of things and just go into some insane blind denialism where you say none of this is real. So, and then you create a bunch of consequences from denialism that aren't healing. That's not what I'm talking about. Maria says, I have not earned money in quite a while. I could easily get a restaurant job or something similar, but my internal alarm bells goes off when I think of doing it. I have a question for you, Maria. Why? I'm just curious why those alarm bells go off. I have felt a calling to sometimes I felt, wouldn't it be fun to just go dig ditches for a year? I felt that lately. Like just do, I mean, I remember when Andy Kaufman got a job working as a waiter when he was huge. Just, I mean, he was being funny and ironic, but we're here to experience everything, right? So I'm not saying, I just want you to know there's no shame in that. Maybe you'd undo the pressure of the one who has to do it all. Maybe there's an all or nothing energy that will never do that or whatever. And it's like, what if it's growth for you to be in that middle place and hear yourself? And, you know, Amber is a doctor of holistic medicine, and she's found just as much joy, if not more at times, in working at a coffee shop, right? She just gets to be and play and say hi to people and eat muffins that she loves. And it's like just as good, if not better, for her to just be, right? And I'm not saying the answer is be a waiter. I'm just saying sometimes we have an energy, it's like, I got to do this giant, grandiose thing. And meanwhile, like, what if there's this restful energy in being a waiter for a while for your soul's growth that is like, I will not be, right? Do you get what I'm saying? Maybe your soul is going, I'm fine with whatever. I just want to be in the moment. I want to undo the idea there's shame, you know? But I'm not saying that's what your highest is, and I'm not saying that's what you want to do. But I do find there is a lot of in this I can't make money world. Um, Oh, thank you, William. In this a lot of I can't make money world, there's a lot of all or nothing, and I got to do the giant internet marketing thing. And if I do anything else, then I'm a failure, and my parents say I told you so. Maybe all those patterns need to be killed by doing it, you know? Maria says, I've done it before and liked it. It just feels like a 6 or 7 at best rather than it felt like a 10 before. So, Maria, then so I know, what to you feels like a 10? Because I know for me, the all or nothing, like the big one is our last big one, at least for probably several years. I like doing Miracles Normalize a lot. And I like doing 100-seat events a lot. And my ego in the old days would be like, how much bigger can we get? But I'll tell you something, man. In those smaller ones, they're so much easier. They're so awesome. And this big one that's coming is going to be awesome and big and amazing, and I have an energy for it. But I also loved doing meditation retreats. I love just as much doing one-on-ones. I really do. I really do. And I just started going the ego that needs it to be a big grandiose thing. Also, it's like I just like being in service, you know, and in 2020, my life shifted the second I heard Law of One and Ra say, when you serve one, you serve all. There's no more serving if a million people see it versus one. The question is, are you in service? If I work out, I'm not going to get fitter a million times more if a million people watch it. The body goes, you're either working out or you're not, right? And so there's a way that our ego measures numbers that aren't right, you know? So Maria answered the next question too. Connecting with people important to me, being in the space with you all, making my art and podcast, those feel like 10s. I hear you and I understand the 10s. What's showing up for me is the 10s are being created. God, this is hard to explain. I think some of you might, I want to see if any of you can feel what I mean, because this is a very intricate specification of the 10s system. How do I explain this? I wonder if any of you already know what I'm going to say in a way before I say it. Sometimes 10s are just what get you closer to you. And there was a time where 10s could be, this will pull me out of my mediocre thing and then help me find me. But then we keep going, it's only up and bigger. That's a 10. And a lot of times we create a 10 out of an anti-5. And the anti-5 could be what you're in resistance to, which would be the same as when Tina Marie said, I'm allowed to be my mom. Like, obviously, it's not a 10 for Tina Marie to be her mother. But if Tina Marie isn't in resistance to her mom and says, out of love, I'm allowed to be my mom, it moves her from the all or nothing energy to a here energy. And so, Maria, one of the things that I'm wondering is if there is an internal pressure you have on yourself that just is so hard on yourself that I think so many of us have, that I almost felt emotions for you because, Maria, I know you and I know what a huge heart you have. And I bet you have an energy that has watched a lot of intense motivation content and different stuff. And Layla's tearing up too. Like, you can picture Maria, and all of us are picturing how hard we've been on ourselves. And what if a 10 isn't only in the external circumstance? Like, it's a 10 to be this huge job or career. It's a 10 to be, but what if it's time to 10 our internal circumstance, which is where we say it's a 10 to take it easy on me. And Maybe if I worked selling muffins for a few months, I could rest and just talk and not have the pressure of this all or nothing energy. I'm seeing tears in Amber too as I say that. I mean, all of us have made the external so much of a 10. And what if the 10 is just like, I'm just gonna find love in myself where it doesn't have to be so enormous. Like we don't all have to Grant Cardone ourselves into the biggest thing. We don't all have to be the biggest thing. And maybe a step towards a bigger thing would be your accepting of your here-ness. Like maybe just maybe later the big thing could happen, or maybe you'd be able to walk around as a waitress hearing ideas and gently creating a podcast if it calls to you. But if it's like, no, it's this or nothing, maybe that all or nothing pressure is ready to go. And I'm sure not knocking Grant Cardone. Where he is where he is. But we're at a different connection. We're different people. We're different energy. And we don't all have to be that one thing that we wanted at one point. And maybe at one point, a 10 is to take it easy on yourself. And a 10 is to just receive a hug. And a 10 is to be appreciated wherever the job is. Right? And so Stacy says, what if serving a job is coming from an old pattern? What if it is? But what if it's still a 10 now? In other words, what if it would be, it's hard to explain this. It's almost one-on-one level explanation. And I'm not telling Maria that what her highest would be is a restaurant job at all. But I would offer, if we're saying all or nothing for months and we keep coming back to this same place, that maybe it's saying it's time to just love yourself more than the career. Did you hear that? It's time to just love yourself more than the career. And if it wasn't only the career is a 10, but my 10 of a career is causing me to put a lot of pressure on myself, then maybe it's actually not a 10. Because it's not a 10 to me to start doing 40,000 seat theaters. It isn't at all. And I'm sure that I could tap into some old motivation thing that could create whatever the hell I wanted to do it. But it's a 10 to me to just be in service. It's a 10 to me to do one-on-ones for cheaper. It's a 10 to me. I can't believe I just told you that, but it is. It's a 10 to me to just be in service and make myself available and just work somewhat and enjoy that and do a little bit and not do an enormous thing and then go hang out with Vivi or Amber or both, or talk to my amazing team and tell them hi. Like, or just it's a 10 to sip this Zevia. It's probably not. But like, could just a thing in the moment be a 10? I knew someone a while ago that interned for Muji, and they said at one point they spent a year just scrubbing toilets. And they said it was the most intense sage experience ever because they're just in service and it's not the big service they're trying to get to. It's just being in the now, hearing their thoughts. And it doesn't matter how big it is. It just matters if they're feeling good. And it's like a meditation for a year to just do that. Right? So it's all up to you to look at this however you want. Maria says, help me with this then. It doesn't feel loving to get a restaurant job. It feels loving to give myself space to create and connect with people and God. And I've been doing that for about a year now. It only started to feel like pressure recently as the savings that has allowed me to do that runs out. So what do you think is trying to fall out? Maria, what do you think is trying to fall out? And I'm going to ask every one of you that. Is it your fight with yourself? Is it your has to be? Is it your all or nothing? Is it your expectations? Is it your own pressure? I'm going to ask every one of you, what do you think is currently trying to fall out of your body right now? What do you think the world is trying to show you? William says, my impatience. Mike H says, compromise, right? My make it happen. I know a lot of people come here from the major make it happen world, all or nothing world. But what if don't settle now means don't make your career bigger than your heart? What if don't settle now means don't put pressure on? Kelly O'Rourke says control patterns, never letting myself off the hook, controlling my have to make it work. What is talk to myself? It's not real. Oh, don't make my career bigger than my experience. Don't sacrifice connecting to yourself for a job. Yeah, fear. And so I think something really magical in the now. Maria says maybe pressure, maybe impatience, maybe fear of having to ask parents to support me again. So what if we're creating the career out of I will not ask my parents for support, right? What if you're allowed to ask for help, Maria? What if you're an amazing, wonderful person? And Maria says, ouch, so that pattern was there. I want you to just take in, Maria, that you're allowed to receive help. And maybe the one that was building, I want you to have the podcast you want to have. I want you to have the awesome stuff. I really do, if you want it. But I also want you to do it out of a whole place. I want you to do it out of, I'm whole and I'm enough even if I don't do the podcast. There's a very famous story that I might have told before that Wayne Dyer told that one time Tony Robbins was doing an event and he asked Wayne Dyer to come speak at it. And Wayne Dyer did. And Tony Robbins' audience in the front row all had a shirt on that said, when you think you can't, you must. And Wayne Dyer said under it, Wayne Dyer pointed at the shirt and said, under that, it should say, and if you don't, that's fine too. You cannot build a career anymore with the if I don't, I'm nothing. If I don't, I have to ask for help. If I don't, I'm not enough. If I don't, we cannot build things. You cannot build a relationship from if I don't make this happen, I'm a failure. If I don't make this happen, you can't do it. It's too much pressure. And that pressure isn't the truth. So the universe is doing what it can to remove your pressure. And anything that you think can't happen, like I can't ask my parents for help, is pressure on you to build the perfect career, podcast, everything. And what if you're loved even if you do ask your parents for help? Right? What if you're loved even if Maria, I want to also just point something out. You grew up in a different time than your parents. You're different than your parents. You're younger, obviously, than your parents. It'd be weird if you're older than them. But Maria, how old are you and how old are your parents? And let's talk about the time they're in, and let's talk about the time that you're in. Maria, how old are you, if you don't mind sharing? And then around what decade are your parents in? Because this is big. I'm 38 and they're mid to late 60s. Your parents were very lucky to live in an entrepreneurial, did they live in America? Yep. So your parents lived in an entrepreneurial, make it happen, me vibration time, a time of massive collective abundance, right? A time where, the neon time, people were worshiping Donald Trump's The Art of the Deal. Your parents were in a very different situation than you're in. And by the way, their parents were probably in the Great Depression and were in a very, very hoard your money. You don't even know if you'll get to eat mentality, right? If they were most of the people in that time. So I want you to take in the times that the people are in. So Maria, when you are trying to have the same pride as your parents, but in a different time where different things were happening and different businesses weren't being built this very different time, right? We're in a time of humbling what your parents were in. We're in a time of, back then it was a very big entrepreneurial boom. All of the things happened in the 80s. It was like the start of people and the consciousness rising of people not just being factory workers, but moving into building their own companies. And so many huge companies we have were built in the 80s and the 90s, right? And so there was a massive thing that was just a normal thing to happen if you moved into the big motivation world, which at one point was a major consciousness growth. That's where your parents were lucky to be in. So they fit in with what happened and they ended up making money. But now we're in this bizarre fall apart where there's been a massive, a lot of money has moved secretly. There's been a major taking and there's all kinds of things being set up for all kinds of different stuff. But the consciousness, I believe, is too high for those things to happen. I don't know what'll happen, but we're in a time of intense fall apart. And we don't want to just be the same as our parents because they were in a different frequency, in a different consciousness, in a different time. And Maria, you got to honor where you are. So you're not trying to be like them or not try because maybe they were like, I won't ask my parents, but maybe that worked for them in that time when a lot of support happened, a lot of the frequency was there. It was what was supposed to happen. But in this time, we're in a time of falling apart and it's trying to kill the pride frequency. And I believe that's what's trying to happen for a lot of the people right now. Our pride is being knocked, and pride on the Hawkins scale scores at 175, and we're all over 200. As a collective, you're over 200. Pride is, I will not receive help from my parents. I do it all myself. And it's a stubborn energy and it's a control-based energy. And it's one of the highest in the single individual soul. But when you go to 200, you go to courage. And courage says, I kill the pride and I humble myself and I ask for help. Because the same you that won't ask your parents for help actually isn't asking God for help. It's telling God you want the business to be this way, but it's not moving into that humility. And Mike H just said it perfectly. Humility and vulnerability is your power. Maria, you're such a wonderful, magical, beautiful human being. And you have to practice receiving. And maybe the first person to receive from is one of your parents. And take a second and practice receiving because maybe the 10-10-10, according to source, would be for you to receive for a minute because you're worth taking care of, Maria. Did you hear what I said? I want to make sure you receive that. Maria, I want you to say this out loud. And every one of you, feel free to say this out loud. I'm worth taking care of because most of you are taking care of everyone else and we're all depleted, right? And now we have to go, I'm worth taking care of. I deserve to be taken care of, right? And I want you to receive that, Maria. You're so awesome. Maria, you've been to so many of my events. And we did a hot seat that was awesome. And this is the next step for you. You're amazing. I think Mary's, at least in her top three, if not her favorite, is Maria's. Might be top three, but I don't remember. Number one, Maria's. And you so receive when you work with me, and I just feel so seen in that. And my hope for you is to also receive being taken care of and know that that also is you making money. Do you understand that if you ask your parents for money and they give it to you, you just made money? It's not only, I think the force of the waitress job or the force of the podcast has an energy of, so I don't have to receive. And she just said something huge. That feels terrifying. Now, there might be more to that story I don't know about. Like maybe if you receive, they'll hold it over your head or something. I don't know any of that stuff. So I'm not saying put yourself in a bad situation. Yeah, I got it. Would they be excited to give to you, Maria, or would they shame you if you asked for help? I don't know that part. Would they be excited to help? Or would they hold it over your head forever? And is that why? Layla just said something really powerful. What if they just shamed? You still receive it. That's even higher levels. No, she says, no shame, maybe disappointment, but I think they'd secretly love it. All right. Well, let's let them secretly love it for a minute because they lucked out a little bit in the time they're in too. And they got to do things well. And if they have that abundance, maybe that'll open you up to receive. And maybe if you open from them, you'll practice receiving, and maybe that'll create space for an insane relationship. Because if you can't receive from them, you can't receive from a good relationship. You won't receive from someone that can see your heart or take care of you. And that you'll obviously take care of them. You are one of the most giving people ever. You can't help but do that. Your problem is you just might be off balance and over the line taking care of everyone, and you're depleted. And that's what the universe is doing. It's putting a lot of people in a financial situation because they're so over the line for everyone else and not receiving. And it goes, well, here's the result of that. Your people pleasers coming to an end because you can't pay the bills with it. So we now receive too. And Maria, you are not allowed to go over the line giving without receiving. So you could say, Mom and Dad, I feel scared to ask this, but I feel like it would be growth for me. Would you help me with this? Cry your eyes out. If it's terrifying, that's a good sign that when you receive, it'll come out. And then practice receiving so there's balance. So you don't have to Gary Vaynerchuk your way through this, right? These people come from different places, and a lot of the people that taught you that might not be including the consciousness and where you are and who you are and your age and your story and where you are and your energy, your feminine energy versus your masculine. All these different things are in this. So, Maria, it feels to me like if it's terrifying to ask them, then that would be your soul's growth. And I want to dare you to just receive and practice receiving for a while. And that won't make you a bum or someone that's not contributing. You can't help but contribute back. But that would put you in a state of receiving and really create an amazing life for you. That's what I got for you, Maria. Does that help? So many tears. Oh, I love that too. That was a fun one. Awesome, Maria. So much. See, you're always so giving too. Maria just makes us feel so appreciated and loved all the time. You're so awesome, Maria. Thank you so much. Hey, Maria said, I fucking love the shit out of all of you. That sounds like Maria just throwing love. Now you got to receive the level of love you give. It's your turn to do that. So we had a special, magical 2-hour call tonight. And I'm honored to be with you guys, and I appreciate you so much. And I'm so excited to work with you in the future. If you want to do a one-on-one with me at a discounted rate, just write Mary, info@Kyle Cease. We'll make something work for you. Because I'm just enjoying being in service. It's my growth to just be in service versus how big can I be? How big can this get? It's just, I just want to be in service. I want to be here, you know? And yeah, if you are coming to the big one, I can't wait to say hi. Maria, are you at the big one? Just curious if you'll be there. Maria will be there. Can't wait to see her. Let's do this, you guys. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for a special on an all new 2-hour, the show's on a special 2-hour blossom. I'm so excited to be with you guys tonight. Thank you for being with us and doing a 2-hour call. Mary, thank you for letting me go long. Thank you to the team for letting me go long. I hope that the content and what came through was worth it. I hope it helped you feel a little bit. I appreciate all of my team and their family for letting me work long, but it felt like it was worth it for what came through with Maria, and hopefully it can help us all be more amazing with our families and our situations too. I love you guys. I feel so good. I hope you guys have a great night, and I will see so many of you at the big one. There's not a call Sunday or Wednesday next week or Sunday next week. 2 Sundays and a Wednesday. But boy, do you have a lot of content all over AEP you can catch up on. There's no way you've seen everything because there's 1,000 hours of content on here. So thank you, Kelly. I'll be absolutely Father's Daying it up with Vivi. I'm sure we'll be at a trampoline park picking up a disease so I can cough through the big one. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching. And if you are feeling excited and inspired, if you're feeling kind of a high or a new possibility, I just want to offer, join us on the Absolutely Everything Pass. It's literally $39 a month, and it will change so many things. There are so many different calls on Sundays and Wednesdays and different meditations, breathwork, everything. And if you feel that calling, you feel that inspiration right now, don't wait till that mood goes and go back to the old energy. Join us in this energy that only goes up from here. Go to kylecease.com/everything and check out the Absolutely Everything Pass. Ask me a question in person. Join us for a hot seat. I can't wait to work with you.